Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to be introducing a new garden to you that we are going to be creating today and in the coming days. We are here at the Proven Winner Signature Garden at Creekside Nursery in Dallas, North Carolina, a Zone 8A. And if you are a follower of Gardening with Creekside, you know that this entire garden is less than a year old, and the plan is that we're going to be expanding these signature gardens throughout our property. So part of that plan has always been to create a wetland garden, a bog garden, if you want to kind of call it that. Here at Creekside, we are blessed with tons of rain, tons of water, natural springs that pop up. We just have an abundance of water here at Creekside. So we have learned over the 20 years that we have lived here that you can try to direct water, but you really can't stop water. And I've gotten to the point in certain cases where I just embrace it, right? Embrace the water and embrace kind of that moist area that will rarely dry out. That's what we're doing today, my friends. So let me give you a little bit of a perspective of where we are. We are, like I said, if you are a follower of Creekside, you will kind of be familiar with this area. This is the back side of the barn. I am standing right beside the formal garden of the signature garden. Yes, remember we're in the middle of restoring our lawn that got eaten by our armyworms. So the sod's gonna go down in a couple of days. So this is why we have the red soil there. But the area that we're gonna be working in are these two beds that are mulched. So this is the biggest bed, obviously, and then right behind the container, right over here, there's a smaller bed that comes right there. You will notice that we have a dry creek bed, river rock, going through that cuts through these beds. That is purely, that's a very practical, functional dry creek bed that we have, because when we get tons of rain, which we do on a regular basis, this whole area, this will be a river of water. And you can see probably that there is mulch in the gravel. That is because it came and it just washed from this little tippy top corner right here. So it piled up right here and then came down through the river rock. And then what it does is it follows the river rock all the way over and runs the length of the front side of the raised beds to the entrance to the gardens. So this is a very practical thing that we are doing today. It is wet because of rain. We get so much rain. It's been a very wet winter. Not winter, well, it was a wet winter, a wet summer. This is probably the lushest August we have ever had. And so you get the water that comes out because of the rain, and then somewhere in this general vicinity, we have water that absolutely just percolates up from the ground. This has historically been a very wet area right here. So coming out of winter, this little Japanese maple was just boggy. Very happy, it handled it like a champion, not on irrigation whatsoever. And so this ground the water just comes up. We've not been ever able to find the source of the water. And so that's where I told Jerry, I was like, when we were designing the whole signature garden, I was like, I would love to do this because let's not fight it. Let's just put a garden here, and it gives people ideas, right? So when you come to Creekside and you look at the signature garden, you have got areas that get full, hot afternoon sun, no irrigation. You get, there's a pond, we're gonna do shade things, we're gonna do things around the pond. You have a wetland area where it just stays wet. So today I have gathered the plants that I'm going to use. The plan was that I was gonna go ahead and plant the garden today too. But let's just be honest, Jenny gets talking about plants and starts thinking about plant design and garden design, and I just get super excited, and it is 1:45 in the afternoon. I'm not gonna get planting today, I will do that later. So today what I'm gonna do is show you all the plants, go through the plants that will work in this garden, and then I'm going to place them, and then I'll come back with you and we'll talk about the garden design and why I put things where I did. So that is kind of the idea. You can see that I have quite the collection back here of those plants. So just to kind of give you a whole perspective here of the beds, and so that you can see basically wherever there is mulch, that is a planting area, and that is what we are going to take care of. Now, this isn't interesting. Let's talk about sun. We know it stays damp. It is not on irrigation, so this is all going to be just natural water. If we hit a drought, then obviously I'm going to need to have to come out here and hand water. But as far as sun, it is 1:45, towards the end of August, and so it kind of gives you an idea of your sun. The vast majority of this bed, from basically the aquapot all the way over, is going to be considered full sun. This particular area is going to get the all-day sun. Like, this is going to get the most sun, and you can already see my little portions. Well, sun went behind a cloud. My portions of shade. So right now the shade is from here and then wraps around that tree. So I'm going to use that to my advantage, and I'm actually going to push myself a little bit. All of the plants that we are using, minus one. There's only one perennial in here, one plant that's going to be in this garden that is not a Proven Winners. This is a Proven Winners signature garden. So Proven Winners does not dictate to us like what plants we use or how many or any of the design, nothing like that. They give us free reign. Really the only restriction on the garden is that you use an abundance, like you well represent Proven Winners in both the annuals, the perennials, the trees, the shrubs. So those are the guidelines. I absolutely can use other plants that are not Proven Winners, but here we're going to do that except for one, and I'll explain to you why that is not a Proven Winners and why I'm going to be using it. I've pulled all of these from the nursery. Either they were just from our stock, or there are some of these that our friends at Proven Winners did send us earlier in the year, and I've been holding on to them to put them in here. I'm going to go through the plants, y'all, and then we'll talk about design later. If you want more information on these plants, you can go to provenwinners.com and you can look these sweet babies up. Here I have two hydrangeas. These are the Let's Dance Arribas. Let's Dance Arribas are a beautiful reblooming hydrangea. Jenny's grabbing the tag here. That is color specific, not color specific. It is pH dependent. There we go. Jenny will get it together here in a second. And I know y'all love your tags, so here you go. Let's Dance Arriba. It is a reblooming macrophylla hydrangea. Now, because it is pH dependent, the color of your flowers is going to depend on your soil's pH. Right now, these are pink because they have been in a container and with the fertilizer that we use. Notice how pretty and healthy and beautiful they are. The Let's Dance Arribas are hardy in zones 4 to 9, 2 to 3, tall and wide, and will do sun to part sun. So I've got two of those sweet babies right there. Then we have got some shade and perennials. I'm going to be kind of pushing the limit here, y'all, with these shade perennials, because these are ones that really do enjoy the shade. But we're going to stick them in the area that goes into the shade first. So what we have three in the little quart-sized containers here. This is the Spot On Pulmonaria. Love this plant. This is a deer-resistant perennial. It is a great complement to like your hostas. It is deer-resistant, rabbit-resistant because it is hairy. Now, Spot On, we have used this many times, is an early spring bloomer, 14 to 16 inches tall, and that will include with the flowers. It is hardy in zones 3 to 9, and it will give you a gorgeous mound. Like, honestly, I have Pulmonaria, a Spot On, that like the full-size plant can be like this big. I mean, they get huge. So we've got three of these little guys. Then we've got some Astilbe, Dark Side of the Moon. Now, Dark Side of the Moon is rated on the tag. It says full sun to full shade. Here in the south, definitely more shade. It can do morning sun, but not intense hot afternoon sun. So that's why we're gonna stick it more in the shadier spot. Beautiful dark foliage on it, and then does really pretty purple flowers. This is going to be a great one, really neat. It is hardy in zones 4 to 9, so if you're in zone 4, you probably can put it in full sun. I just can't do that here in the south. It'll get about 20 to 22 inches tall. Next on the list for the shade is a good old Japanese painted fern. That's right. We have Crested Surf, and Crested Surf is going to get some height to it. Like when they are happy, they'll be like 22 inches tall, and really cool because on the tips of, like, they have little tassels. And so there are these little fringe tassels here on the end But Japanese painted ferns really, like, they love the moisture, right? And this is hardy in zones 3 to 8. Like I said, with the shade stuff, I know I'm gonna be pushing it a little bit, but you know what? If you're not pushing things in the garden, then, you know, are you even gardening? I don't know. You gotta be willing to risk some things and be able to say, okay, well, that did not work. And if it didn't work, then you know better and won't make that mistake again. But what if they do great? And then we're very happy about that. So I love to push the limits sometimes, whether it's on my sun limits or if it's on my zone limits. Just test it. Gardening's one big science experiment, so let's just test it out, y'all. Things that I know are gonna do great without a doubt, which is the vast majority of it. These are the only questions that I have, and that's because of my sun, not because of moisture. So if you have a damp area and your sun is, you know your sun's right for a Japanese painted fern or an astilbe or a pulmonaria, then you'll be fine. I'm just pushing it because I may have too much sun. Next, bottle rocket. So I have 2 of these, and bottle rocket is a Ligularia, which loves the moisture, right? So this is a really cool plant. Like, look at the leaf texture, the leaf size, the leaf shape, nice and big. It kind of reminds you a little bit maybe of like an oak leaf, you know, kind of thing. But what's so cool about it are those really pretty golden yellow spikes. This will get some height to it, 28 to 34 inches tall, hardy in zones 4 to 9. But it is great for moist, damp areas. They like that consistent moisture with that part sun. So I've got 2 of these, nice big pop of yellow will be really cool. Now, ever since I heard that this plant was coming into the line, I knew this is where it was gonna go. This is a cookies and cream hibiscus, y'all, the new one from the Summerific collection from Proven Winners. This is a very dark leaf. Now you may be looking at this and you're like, Jenny, that's green. There is some dark in there, but that is green. Well, the reason that it's green is because it's been in the deep shade and because I was holding them in the pines, and so it is has been in the shade. As soon as it gets all the full UV light, it will turn this black color. But what's so cool is they do these pure white flowers, hence cookies and cream. These are going to be full sun plants, and so we're going to put them in a nice sunny area. And this is only going to be about like a 4x4, right? So not too massive. You're going to get some beautiful height to it, nice gumdrop shape to it, fat and wide, 4x4, dark foliage, beautiful white creamy flowers, really cool. I've got 3 of these guys. All right, now speaking of being in the shade, y'all just forgive me, okay? These are the new Webmasters. This is a spiderwort from Proven Winners. I know, y'all, they look terrible. They're leggy. This is what happens when you put a plant in the wrong sun conditions. So for me, this does great in the full sun. Y'all, when I say it was in deep shade and it was like under plants, that's what happened. Hence why it looks the way it does. This is not reminiscent of the plant. This is not the plant's fault. This is the gardener's fault, but they're alive, they're fine. I have some in the garden beside the forest pansy bed. They're stunning, they're gorgeous. So just overlook the fact that they are very floppy. I do love this plant. So far I've had it in the ground this whole season and it has done really, really well. So the Webmaster is Tradescantia, right? So it gets 18 inches tall, beautiful lavender flowers. Does really well in those damp areas. Now, the thing about Webmaster is different than other spiderwort, because I know spiderwort can get out of control. You know, like it can spread, it can run, but I have not had that situation with Webmaster. Much more contained. It's easy to maintain, it's gorgeous, the flowers are really pretty, kind of has a bluish green foliage to it. Really excited about this, so we're going to put Webmaster in there as well. Now, we got one Brandywine viburnum. The Brandywine does great in your moist areas. This is a deciduous viburnum, and she's getting a little lanky on me. She's been in this pot for a little bit of time, so what I will do is go ahead and prune her up, just give her a little bit of shape, and I may not do that now. I may just wait. I don't know. I may do it now. I may not do it now. But what's so cool about Brandywine is it is deciduous, but you get these really huge glossy leaves on it. And in the springtime, it will do these clusters of this like white flowers that your pollinators go nuts over. Now, then those flowers this time of year will then turn into berries, and the berries are pink and blue. They change colors. I don't remember which one goes first, if it's the pink and then they go to blue or blue to pink, I don't remember. But they are beautiful. Your birds love the berries. Wouldn't advise you to eat them, leave them let nature eat them, but it's a really cool plant. And this will give you some height, this gives you some structure. And so that's why we're only gonna put one brandywine in there. I have this at the house. It doesn't get probably quite enough sun and or not enough water, so they do okay. That's why I'm so excited to put this one in here. So Brandywine viburnum going in. Another one that I do have a lot of experience with, and I love this plant, is the vanilla spice. So the vanilla spice is a summer sweet, and I have two of them here. Gorgeous shrub. Again, it is deciduous. Beautiful fall color, y'all. This thing is unbelievable in the fall. When I say it is big bird yellow, it is big bird yellow. Those leaves will turn the most gorgeous, bright, electric shade of yellow. They scream in the garden, look at me, look at me. They are stunning. If for no other reason, you need to get it for the fall color. However, it is called a summer sweet for a reason. In the summertime, it will put on beautiful white flowers. You can see the remnants of the blooms here. So it's very like a spike of a flower, white, that smells divine. It has the best fragrance. Very reminiscent, kind of like a gardenia. Love, 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 love this plant. So we've got two of those in here, and it blooms on new growth, so you can prune it. We love that. All right, let's move into some perennials. Oh, nope, let's do one more shrub here. We've got two more shrubs. We'll do all the shrubs here right quick. This is a new one we just got in to the nursery. Now, it's not a new plant to Proven Winners. It's just new to me and new to Creekside. So this is a winter berry holly. This is Berry Poppins. Berry Poppins, I think as you can see, gets its name because it does these gorgeous red berries. That holly berry, hardy in zones 3 to 9. These will be 3 to 4 feet tall and wide. Now, it's called a winter berry because this shrub is deciduous. So in the winter, it's going to go completely, as I say, they go naked, right? So they lose all of their leaves, but the berries stay on. So you will have, just like the picture does on the tag, stems covered in red berries. So we have 3 Berry Poppins. Now, in order to have the berries on your Berry Poppins, you need the male. Well, guess who's hiding back there that has no berries on it? Yep, that is Mr. Poppins. So if you're gonna have Berry Poppins with the berries, you gotta have a Mr. Poppins. And Mr. Poppins will pollinate these sweet ladies here and give those gorgeous red berries. So we've got 3 Berry Poppins and 1 Mr. Poppins. Now, I know you're going to ask, Mr. Poppins will be the pollinator plant for any winterberry, okay? And one of Mr. Poppins will pollinate up to 5 of the female winterberries. As long as you have Mr. Poppins within 50 feet of the female plants, then it will pollinate. So we're going to kind of stick him in a little less conspicuous area because basically it's just going to be like a green shrub, right? Nothing showy about him. He's just going to do his thing and pollinate these sweet ladies so that we get those beautiful berries. So we have got that 1 Mr. Poppins. Let's go over here right quick to these other 2 shrubs and then we'll pick up the rest of the perennials. Speaking of interest, fall interest, spring interest, we have got a Fothergilla. Now I've got 3 of the Fothergillas. These are Legend of the Small. These are not the like premium plants because they've been in these containers for a while, but these are gorgeous native shrubs that are also known as a bottle brush. Now, in the late winter, early spring, you are going to get the name, as the name says, these little white flowers that look like a bottle brush. Then it's going to leaf out. It's going to give you really nice green, kind of almost like a leathery, it's very kind of a dull. So it'll be a nice different kind of color and texture with some of the other plants. And then in the fall, really gorgeous burgundy color to it. Fothergillas can get huge, like the true native ones can get massive. This one is going to be about like a 3x3 for me, right? 3x3, really cool. Now it does like moist soil, but it needs to be well draining. So we are going to put it on a higher end, not down here kind of in the low land. We're going to kind of put it up high. So yes, it will get water, but it will drain. So Fothergillas are going to go in. Legend of the Small. Now y'all, don't laugh at this plant because bless her. Yeah, she looks terrible. But I know what this plant is going to do. This is a Sugar Shack buttonbush. And Sugar Shack buttonbush, again, another native plant. Now the reason I say it looks terrible is because basically it's naked. It has action going on the top, but she is ready to get out of this container, and she will be like so incredibly happy to get out of this pot. This is one that we don't even have for sale. Like if you want one when you come here to the nursery, we'll sell you one, but like I am not gonna have this on my shrub lot just because it just is not very attractive. However, the root system, very healthy. As soon as I get this out of the pot, break up those roots a little bit, put some biotone on it, it is gonna be great. So button bushes are really cool because it is deciduous, it blooms on new growth, it starts out with this white flower that looks like something you would see underneath a microscope. That white then turns into the red in the late summer into fall. It loves the moisture, y'all. This is hardy in zones of 4 to 10, and it will get to be a good size, 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. And it absolutely will do this because I have one in the forest pansy bed. Dear heavens to Betsy. That thing, I put it in there because it was a historically, whenever it rained, the irrigation, whatever, this one spot stayed soaking wet. Y'all, this thing at the forest pansy is out of control in a good way. It's just so stinking happy. And so I know that this one will do that as well in the area that we're going to put it. So button bush, really fun. You'll find these on like creek banks and that kind of, like on water's edge of ponds or rivers. So another great native plant. All right, let's hit some perennials right quick. We're gonna try to move quickly here. I feel like we're spending forever on these plants, which is a good thing, right? All right, spigilla. So we have 2 varieties of spigilla that we're going to be planting. Orange Slices is new. It is going to be this, again, another great native plant. Spigilla you'll find like in the mountains and the foothills of North Carolina in the southeast. This is going to be full sun to part shade, loves it moist. 16 to 20 inches is going to be the height on Orange Slices. And then it is hardy in zones 5B to 9. Now, it is a nice long bloomer, all the spigillas are. So we have Orange Slices and then we have Apple Slices. How fun is that, right? So a nice, really pretty red. Your hummingbirds will go nuts over this plant. So we've got Orange Slices and Apple Slices. We have phlox. We have 2 kinds of phlox that we're going to do. This is ultraviolet, which is like a panicle phlox. Like, look, can you figure out how ultraviolet got its name? I mean, it's stunning. This will be a taller phlox, and it is going to be a later blooming phlox than, say, my opening act, which is back here. Now, these opening acts, y'all, these are literally the last 4 plants we have at the nursery. So, you know, I'm not choosy when I come to my plants because I know that this ultra pink is going to be a stunning, gorgeous phlox that is going to give me beautiful flowers. Nice, and you get some height to it. Nice, bright pink, obviously, because it's called ultra pink. Loves the sun, and when you give your phloxes consistent moisture, then it really does help with any kind of like stress on the plant. And both the opening act series and the luminary series are going to be more resistant to powdery mildew. If you get powdery mildew, whack them back, cut them to the ground. They will reflush, happy, healthy. They'll bloom for you. Love these guys. Monarda, Bee Balm. This is Leading Lady Pink. And the Leading Lady series is a nice petite shorter because Monarda or Bee Balm can be quite tall. Another native plant attracting the pollinators like crazy. Nice, big, beautiful pink flowers on it. So Leading Lady is going to be a beautiful, more controlled, perennial that works really, really well in those moist areas. And then, let's see, here we go. The last one is panicum grasses. Panicum grasses do really well in moist areas. So here we have Cheyenne Sky. So the panicums, like from Proven Winners, you could use the Cheyenne Sky, which is more petite, like a 3x3. You can see why it's called Cheyenne Sky, because this time of year it starts to take on those burgundy hues, does a really light, airy little plume on it. I love perennial grasses, but if you want something bigger, Niagara Falls would be a good one. Totem Pole would be a great one. So those are part of that panicum series that love the moist, wet roots. So we are using Cheyenne Sky. All right, saving the best for last. We are going to put in some Joe Pye weed. This is a gorgeous native perennial that will support your pollinators, your butterflies like crazy. Now, Joe Pye weed, we actually have growing all in sorts of different areas here on our property. But Joe Pye weed, the true native that will just spring up, is massive. Like, it is huge. I would say it's like 7 feet tall, right? These huge heads on it. And it can be very, very floppy because it's 7 feet tall, hello. But they just get huge. Like, we have them behind the pond. We have them growing all along the creek bank. So that's just not really practical for me to have here in this garden because it's just way too big and floppy and just not good. However, guess what? We have Baby Joe. Baby Joe is the smallest, most petite Joe Pye weed, y'all. It is so stinking cute. Look at this thing. Now, I intentionally chose the 3 that only have the buds. They are not flowering yet. We just got these in this week. We have them available for sale and they are flowering. I just wanted the 3 that were budded out but not blooming because I wanted them to acclimate really well to the ground, and I wanted the most bloom power that I could. So here we have Baby Joe. Full to part sun. It's gotta keep wet, y'all. It's gotta keep those feet wet because to make it very happy. Hardy in zones 4 to 9, and this is gonna be about 30 inches tall, including the flowers, and about 2 feet wide. So extremely compact form for that Joe Pye weed. Love it. We have 3 of them, and I'm going to be putting them in the wettest area that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simply set the camera up. I'm not going to chit chat with you while I place these because this may take me a hot minute. I have some idea of where certain things are going to go, but the overall design, kind of, sort of, but not really. That's just how I garden. So I'm just going to set the camera up, put everything out, probably talk to Cece a couple of times, probably grab Mimi down here, get her opinion, because some, different eyes that see different things, which I love. I love having that, all these wonderful master gardeners around me where we can just like iron sharpens iron, right? So we can talk some things through. And then once I have everything placed in where I want it, I'll meet you back here and we'll do a quick little tour of why I placed things where I did. My friends, it is 4:15 in the afternoon and I have finally got the garden placed and could not be happier with it. I started out, there were certain things that I knew exactly that I was like, okay, well, this is definitely gonna go here. Other pieces I was like, I don't know where they're gonna go. And then, so I started, got most of it out. Cece came over. We talked some things through, and then she had to go to the DMV, bless her heart. And then I called Mimi. Jackson went and grabbed Mimi, kidnapped her, brought her down here. So she's been down here with me for the past hour or so. And so we've gotten everything tweaked. Of course, she's a very bad influence on me. And so we have added some couple of things. Cannot wait to show this garden to you. I am not planting today. So we're just looking at the design. I will come back and probably plant it in the morning. So one thing that I do love about this garden is that from all the angles, it looks so good. Now, it is 4:15 in the afternoon towards the end of August, and you can see that it is basically completely in the shade. Brenna has found a rock, and so that's why she's barking, because she's been playing soccer with the rock. Brenna, out of the bed. Thank you. And so you may see her playing with the rock. Now, so let's start over here predominantly with the shade plants, right? So this corner definitely is the shade garden. So came forward and put the crested surfs here on the front, because this is going to be some of the wettest area and they need the most moisture. The little spot on pulmonarias, I just kind of tucked in there with them. And then the dark side of the moon, Astilbe, is back there. I just think with the dark color, because the dark side of the moon and the ferns are going to be the same height. I have found that the Astilbe can be a little bit more forgiving as far as the moisture, and so that's why I chose to put them in the back, because it's going to be just a slightly hint drier than what is in the front. Now, on each side, we did do hostas. Now, these are not proven winners. These are just what we call non-branded hostas, because I needed something very bright and bright color, because this is going to get a good amount of morning sun. And I have some great proven winter hostas, but I only have like darker varieties, and I was afraid they were going to burn. So we went ahead and we're going to double things up. This is a display garden, so we want to make it big. So this is guacamole. So we did 2 of them. We're going to plant them as one. So we've got guacamole here, and then on this side is stained glass. Stained glass might get a little bit more sun on this corner. So this is a little bit of a brighter color. Again, we have 2 of them, and we're going to plant them as one to get a nice big impact. So I think we're just going to work our way around. Here we have the bottle rockets, because the bottle rockets are listed as part sun. This will get good morning sun, but then it goes into the shade, so we'll be good. You might notice, if you can see that stick right there, so we're gonna add a 3rd one. So we're gonna have a group of 3 right here, and the spacing on them's like 18 inches, 2 feet. So that will be a nice, big, huge clump and look like one mass bottle rocket when it is done. So we've got those right there, and then coming on around, we've got the 2 Let's Dance Arebas. They're pulled forward a little bit, so that way they have plenty of room to grow. These will roughly be, I think, in that 3 to 4 tall and wide. So we've got plenty of room, say, between the hydrangea and the aquapot. So that's great. And then these 2, if they grow together and are kissing each other, then that's wonderful. These do bloom on both new and old growth. So if we can avoid pruning them at all, that would be ideal. We have a ribbon of the ultraviolet phlox. So there's here, and then it kind of weaves its way through the back, because it's going to be that nice, bright violet color. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. And these will get some height to them, right? So I think it's 3 feet. That's why we kind of stuck them here in the back. I was debating with Cece. I was like, do I do a 3rd Areba here and kind of plant them a little close to each other so that they look like one big mass? And then I was like, I'll just put this ultraviolet here to hold the spot. And then when I did, I was like, whoa, I actually like that a lot with the ultraviolet. So that's why we ended up leaving the ultraviolet right there. And then we'll come here in the front, because those are the nice bright purple. If you know us, we are Clemson fans. So you've got the deep violet in the back, and then we came up here with the orange slices. So orange and purple, go Tigers, and these are all here together. They're relatively going to be close together because, again, I want one mass group. Like, I want to have a big, bold impact from a distance when these guys are blooming. So that's why we've planted them. We're going to plant them relatively close to one another so that they kind of grow into each other. Next, the opening act phlox. So we've got one here, and this is the ultra pink, and then the 3 right here. So you'll have a ribbon of 3, a little bit of a break, and then one more, and then have the Cheyenne Sky en masse right there. So that's 5 of those guys right there together. These max out at that 3 foot, which is going to be kind of perfect. They're going to be, because I have my cookies and creams back here that are 4 feet. So you see this bed from so many different angles that even though you've got a 4 foot, a 3 foot, and then the phlox back there is 3 feet, it all kind of just flows together, and the color pop will be a nice difference. And then of course the texture, right? We love grasses because it brings movement to the garden and has a completely different texture. Coming on around, we did the other spigilla. So we had the apple slices. So we have 3 here, and then we have 2 here. Now it looks a little odd for sure right now because they're so tiny, but when they grow up together, they will be just fine. And so I kind of like breaking them up, and they're going to be, I think, in that 18 to 20 inches. So the Monarda right here is in 10 to 14 inches. So that will be nice. So you've got shorter, nice mass clump. Of course, those will naturalize together and spread quite nicely. And then you've got a taller red back there. Baby Joe, right smack on the edge of the rocks. That is the absolute wettest area right there. We still have, Brenna ran through here yesterday, and so she's got footprints. So it's very wet. This is where we want to put that little Baby Joe pieweed right here on the edge. Now, coming this way, let's back up just a little bit. The 2 vanilla spices. We've got one here and one here. One, it kind of balances. Now I know they're not perfectly even off, like balanced off of the wind spinner. That is fine, that does not bother me, but it does balance the bed, right? So when they're blooming, they're gorgeous, and then in this fall, when they're that bright yellow, you will see that as well, and it won't feel off balance there. Around the base of the wind spinner, that's where we put Webmaster. Webmaster is going to give me a nice big clump and just have a big, huge group underneath that wind spinner, and so the wind spinner will look like it's coming up out of the Webmaster. That is the plan on that. Then Brandywine Viburnum all the way in the back, because that's going to be my biggest shrub, and so we put that in the back so it anchors the bed from back there, because most people are not going to be back there, and if they do, well, it's okay because it's got plenty of room and you can see all the way around it. So there you go. Winter berries. So we've got the 3 berry pop-ins right here, and I was trying to, because most of the time people are going to see the garden from this angle, and for the most of the summer, those berry pop-ins back here are going to be like little green shrubs. They're most going to stand out in the winter time when they are bare branches with the red berries. So I was like, okay, well, let's kind of put them towards the back, 3 to 4 feet wide, tall and wide, so they'll fill in right there. And then the stud, as we're calling him, Mr. Poppins, is behind the aquapot, so way back there, because he would look weird if he were mixed in the wintertime and not have berries on him. So we just kind of stuck him back there in the corner, and then I was having a hard time placing those 3 winter berries, and then I was talking to Cece, this is where she was helping me, and she was like, well, you could do a 4th berry poppins right here. And I was like, oh, but what if we do something totally different and do like a smooth hydrangea, right? So what if we do that Invincible series, right? So that is what we did. We did the Invincible Sublime. Blooms on new growth rather. It's a beautiful color specific lime green. I love this hydrangea. It will get the full sun that it needs, but it will also go in the shade in the afternoon, so it will not burn. So yay for Invincible Sublime. Really fun, and it gives me a totally different kind of hydrangea than the Let's Dance Ariba. So that basically is this whole bed right here. The Asian water bowl was driving me insane. It looked like a chartreuse cousin in the plant world. It was just, holy moly, that sweet potato vine had overtaken this pot. So I was like, okay, we're cleaning it up. Mimi, the bad influence that she is, I told y'all if y'all didn't hurry and get these trees that I was going to take one. So guess what? Yes, this Tokyo Tower, which is an ivory, this is a Chinese fringe tree. This is such a cool, this is going to be narrow. It is going to be tall, can be up to 15 feet tall and 3 feet wide. We'll see how it grows. If at some point we need to take it out of the pot, we take it out of the pot. But this is a huge, huge pot. This is going to be hardy in zones 6 to 8 and it's full sun. I was thinking about putting a miniature dogwood here, but this does stay in the sun for a lot in the afternoon, and I was like, oh, dogwood might burn. So there we go. We went with Tokyo Tower. And then the last little, as Cece says, this is like the island bed. So here is a lot of the same plants are going to be repeated, but then also we have brand new ones. The same Monarda, right? We have here on the front. So when you are standing back from the garden, right, and you're looking at the garden, the same Monarda is here and right here, and they will be blooming obviously at the same time. Also, the ultraviolet phlox, I've got 2 of them here, and then remember, they're all through this bed. So that way it ties the beds in, and then we have that last cookies and cream there as well. So you've got 1 cookies and cream here, and you've got 2 there. So while the beds are physically separated from the rocks, they still tie in together because we've repeated 3 of the same plants in this bed and this bed. So that's a little tip for you. To making separate beds flow together as one and are cohesive together. We put the Fothergillas, Legend of the Small, on the back side because while they like it damp, they need to be well draining. This is going to be my highest point. So yes, they're going to get the water, but it's well draining. High point will the water will drain down. There we go. I'll get it out here in a second. And then Sugar Shack. I knew Sugar Shack was going to go back there in the back because again, it will be a nice big size, just like my Brandywine. Not quite as big as the Brandywine, but it will anchor this corner of the flower bed and this whole garden as a whole. And then this area stays wet. This is a nice kind of a low spot right here. So it certainly will get lots of good water. And yeah, so there we go. I wanted to make sure that I left plenty of room for my cookies and cream. They're going to be 4 by 4. They're going to get every bit of that. Like Cece said, she said they're going to live their best life in these flower beds because of the moisture, because of the sun, all the nutrition that is here. So this is why there is nothing planted around here. If I was concerned next year in the spring, this is where you bring in annuals. So if you have a bed and you know that you have placed your shrubs and your perennials with the appropriate spacing, but that year 1, maybe year 2, you're waiting on them to fill in and it feels a little empty, that's where you use your annuals. Go in there with some coleus, some cleome, some pentas, some petunias, lantana, whatever it is, right? Fill in those gaps, fill in those holes, and the bed won't feel empty. So, yeah. I could not be more happy with this. I love the design, love how it turned out. And so the plan is tomorrow morning I'll get out here, Mimi's gonna help me, and we're gonna get this baby planted. So that will be wonderful. We'll use the power planter auger. Everybody will get biotone, and then we'll come back because I'm sure we will make a mess, and then we'll top dress with some of the Daddy Pete soil conditioner, which is those aged pine bark vines, which is what you see right there, and then just top dress, and then they'll be good to go until this coming out of winter, and then we'll fertilize them, trim body that needs to be trimmed, and there you go. So anyway, if you have a damp, wet area, I hope you have found this helpful and informative. These certainly can go in other parts of your gardens. I have used them many, many times in other places, but if you especially have a wet area and you're looking for some help, then hopefully this is giving you some ideas. As always, we appreciate you. Thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have an amazing day. We'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.